One shot, baby, there you go again. Two shots and I think you know again. Three shots come, you might find your daddy gone. One shot, baby, there you go again. Two shots and I think you know again. Three shots come, you might find your daddy gone.
And we are live here on K98talk.com, thanks to my husband who saved me because my mic decided to pull, I don't know, a month in before I get on the air. You know, I've had the same damn mic for a while, and it finally decided to die on me. So now it's time to buy another one. You know, so stingy. But anyway, it's time to do it, and we're here live. And if I don't sound too terrible, it's because I'm on a Mac. God bless my husband for letting me use it. And thank you to those of you who stuck around while we waited for it to figure out what was going on. It's funny watching you guys in the chat. Dead air. Oh, there's the Gas House Gorillas. Where's Bunny? Bunny was having a panic attack trying to find out why her mic wasn't working. But we fight on because we are bunnies or something like that. I guess you guys can be bunnies. You're on the show with me. So tonight, I am actually organized for this show and my mic dies. You know, I'm telling you, this is how it works in my world. But tonight I have a lot of things to talk about. So I'm probably going to eat into Jason's time just a little bit. Because, you know, I'm like that. I'm a total entitled rabbit. And so I'm going to eat into his time because I am so late starting my own show. You know, that's just how it works in this business. Sorry, Jason. Big kisses. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about Rand Paul, Walter Scott, and hate pizza. You know, we have to talk about hate pizza because I really thought that it would die down after all of the drama from last week. And of course, it didn't go anywhere because it's the left we're talking about. And the victim mafia is engaged. So it's still hanging around. So we're going to talk about that. My guest is Josh Smith, who is an attorney who happens to be gay. Now, I'm trying really hard not to call him Josh the gay attorney, but that's kind of what he is right now because it's relevant to what we're talking about. Now, we try really hard not to label people, you know, the label thing. I hate the whole put people in buckets, and that way you can kind of just assume they are a certain type of person. But the fact that he is gay is relevant because he supports the RFRA and he can explain why we need the law. He has a really good way of talking about legality without it being completely boring and sound like radio instructions. So he's going to be on in the second half of the show. But first, we got to start talking about Rand Paul. Now, I will tell you up front, I am a Scott Walker girl. I have wanted Scott Walker to run for president since 2010. So I kind of have that horse already picked because I really dig him. I think he's pretty badass. He's defeated the unions. He's beat Democrats 3 times in 4 years. I think he's pretty cool in that regard. There's some things I'm not sure about the whole firing of Liz Mayer. I didn't think that was cool with the establishment. Some of his flip-flopping on amnesty is not exactly cool. But there are certain things about him that I think really are outstanding and would do great as a president of this country, especially what we're going to need after the mess Obama has made of things. However, when I was watching Rand Paul announce that he was going to be running for president, I was really impressed. Now, I know, you Rand Paul haters have already told me how everybody says what they're supposed to say when they announce, and I shouldn't take anything that he says for truth, blah, blah, blah. He's not a real Republican. He's crazy, whatever else you guys are saying about him. But I tell you what, it's like someone sat down with Rand Paul and said, Rand, here's the deal. Bunny wants you to talk about school choice. Bunny wants you to talk about repealing the Patriot Act. Bunny wants you to talk about lowering taxes on corporations and bringing jobs back to the country. It was bizarre. It was like he found my notes from his show and went, oh, that's what they want. I mean, it was really hard not to get on that old Rand wagon because he said everything I wanted that candidate to say. He talked about liberty and freedom and justice. And he talked about how Americans deserve their privacy back. He talked about not one penny more for people who hate our country. He even talked about how we're giving all these millions of dollars to other countries to build bridges when our bridges are falling apart in our country. So here he is talking about all these things that matter to me, and I'm freaking out because it's Rand Paul. Now, I will admit, when he first got to be a senator, I had a little crush, like a political crush thing going on. especially when he did the whole filibuster of the droning program. He stood for 13 hours and he's like, drones are bullshit. I was like, oh my God, this man is what we need, because he was willing to do that. At the same time, I think it was very close by when Wendy Davis did the whole standing up for late term abortion because she's a hag. It was very interesting to see him filibuster for 13 hours about not droning innocent people. And Wendy filibustered for 11 hours talking about how we should kill innocent people. It really is a dichotomy right there between the right and the left, don't you think? But she's another story. So I wrote this whole article about when I used to blog more than I do now. I wrote a whole piece on Rand Paul and how I had kind of this political crush going on because I respected him actually standing up and saying these things. Now, to be fair, Ted Cruz hadn't done his piece about Make DC Listen yet. He hadn't read Green Eggs and Ham to his kids. Things have changed since Rand did that. But he got my attention, and he did it again when he did this whole announcement for running for president. I love that his pastor spoke, his pastor said he is an independent. There was the gentleman, the Guatemalan, I think he's a doctor. I was so blown away about all the different pieces going on, talking about Senator Paul's work in Guatemala at this clinic where he helps Guatemalans get their eyesight back. A little girl, she was blind. She sang our national anthem. I cried for 10 minutes watching her. I was moved. And it could be, this is fair, it could be I'm so desperate at this point to believe in someone again, to have a leader come up and say something important that I care about, to actually have someone say something I agree with or I'm not offended by. It could have just been a reaction like that. It could have been the whole desperation for a good guy again that got me kind of marking out. And don't worry, I'm still really not on the Rand wagon. I know a lot of people are. I appreciate the libertarians that support him. I think we need to find a way to work with libertarians if we're going to make this happen. Because I tell you what, the left could run a bologna sandwich and they will vote for that bologna sandwich. There is no infighting within them. Once they pick someone, it's like, yeehaw, where we go. Even if they nominate someone horrible like Hillary Clinton, they're going to go, well, she sucks, but, and they're going to support her. So we got to figure out, because there are definitely more of us than there are of them at this point. And that includes those libertarians. It's interesting when you run into the moderates and they're like, we're really important, you better kiss our ass. And I'm like, you know what? We've been kissing your ass the last 6 years and it's done nothing for us but lose elections. So I'm done kissing moderate ass. Take your moderate ass and go vote for the Democrats. I'm fine with that at this point. I'm done pandering to you because no matter what we do for the moderates, it's never going to be enough. So it's time really to vote for what matters to us. And Rand Paul said that. He said, we need to make a stand for what we believe in and stop with this whole playing politics piece. Now, of course, he was playing politics, which I think is kind of ironic. But his sentiment is no less true. And that sentiment is, it's time to vote for what you really believe in. Not because, well, the other guy's worse. Not because you want to see someone lose. In 2012, when I voted for Mitt Romney, it wasn't about, Mitt was fine. He wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I wanted Obama gone so badly, I voted for him. And I'm done doing that, I think, at this point. Because what I learned from that is otherwise we're just going to get Democrat light. And that sounds like a soda at this point. We hear it so much. I want a Democrat light. No, I don't like Democrat light. I want to vote for, and I'll vote for a libertarian at this point. If they say the right things and they want to do the right things for this country and freedom, I'm there. And I'm ringing. Why am I ringing?
That would be because since we got such a late start, your guest is calling in at their scheduled time and we're not on break.
So they get to hear this too. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and go on. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm totally off with screwing up 15 minutes late. So, Josh, if you hear me, you're going to have to call in probably in about 15 minutes.
Actually,
I'm going to take a break here in like 5 minutes, Rick.
He can just hang out, and I'll just leave him muted till you're ready for him. There's no point in making him call back.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for doing that. We'll just make everybody inconvenienced tonight. That's what the theme of this show is. Yeah, that was funny. Guys, I think what it boils down to, because I was ranting about Rand Paul, what it really boils down to is it's time to get behind somebody who is not worried about pleasing the establishment anymore. And Rand did talk about that we are in a bad place because of the system, which we always talk about the establishment and the system, but it's also that both parties are doing bad things. Both parties, they really are doing some of the same things. We've talked about that there are progressives on both sides of the aisle. So it's not like liberals own progressives. We have plenty on our side as well. And so when Rand talked about that piece, it also appealed to me because I feel like even on the Republican side, we have progressives who want to grow government and keep their positions. Rand talked about term limits. He really, I swear to God, it's like he sat down and said, okay, Sam, you make a list of all the things you want in your candidate, and I'm going to be that guy, which is exciting and scares me at the same time because, honestly, if he's just feeding me a line of bull, then I'm really going to be pissed. How do we know anymore, right, guys? Well, I am going to take a short break because I need to take a drink of water and get organized. When I get back, I have this week's top 10 douchebags, so stay put. I'll be right back.
We here at Politainment love to read. Well, except Paul, but, anyway. Thing is, we're all super busy, and rarely is there a moment where we can just sit down for an hour and get caught up on the book we've been wanting to read. Many of us just don't have the time. But what we do have is a smartphone, a tablet, and a subscription to Audible.com. You see, Audible.com gives us the ability to get caught up on the books we want to read, but it's the audio version that in many instances is narrated by the author. So this way we can hear chapter 2 on the way to work, while cutting the grass, or while in the bathroom. Hey, don't act like you don't do that too. And Audible is part of Amazon, so there are hundreds of thousands of books to choose from. If we just described you, a person who loves to read and just doesn't have the time, then we want to hook you up. Go to audibletrial.com/Politainment and you get a free month trial, and that includes one free book. Yes, even new releases, for free. You get a 30-day free trial with no strings attached, and at the same time, you help out your friends at Politainment. Go to audibletrial.com/Politainment. Get your books on the go by going to audibletrial.com/Politainment today. Thanks. Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes in...
Listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works.
President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before.
Did someone say green?
Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind?
Now, do you say good things about me on the show?
No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much.
The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation.
Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo?
I got a pen. I can veto that, you know.
I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it.
Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either.
That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Back. And I don't think I broke anything while we were on break. Thank you for staying put and being here on a technically challenged night. I am your host, The Bunny, and we are here on K98 Talk on Unapologetically Bunny. Since the show is called Unapologetic, I really shouldn't tell you people I'm sorry. But you know what? I had to because that's just how it works sometimes. So I'm sorry now, but I won't be sorry later. And we're back with this week's Top 10 Douchebags. If you are a first-time listener, this is for you. And where have you been listening for the first time tonight? But anyway, Top 10 douchebags of the week come from the good people in social media. Those of you send me your nominations every week for people you think are massive douchebags, and we go over the top 10 here on the show every week. In that way, it feels like the show belongs to all of us in a way, which is really pretty cool. So let's get started. At number 10, Amanda Marcotte, the straw man slayer. Rolling Stone came out and admitted the rape story from Jackie at the University of Virginia was not true, and even apologized to everyone but, of course, the young men in the frat who were actually hurt the most by the stupid article. Amanda used this opportunity to say, but rape really is a problem, and then even allude to the notion that Jackie's story may have been misrepresented but was true. Anything to perpetuate the notion that evil men rape all of the time, and that if men aren't raping, it's because we've taught them it's wrong. At least she wasn't writing another piece on the joy abortion brings her. Yeah, and she's a douche at number 10. At number 9, as a follow-up to Amanda and the rape story is Rolling Stone magazine. They make the list this week, lucky them. Not only for being a POS magazine, that and for covering the fake story and, featuring convicted murderer and terrorist Tsarnaev. I have this written out so I wouldn't mispronounce his name. On their cover, yeah, he's like the rock star terrorist guy. Yeah, by the way, they found him guilty in all 30 counts today. I had this done before I found that out. So he really is a convicted murderer. Way to go, Rolling Stone. I realize media is all but useless, but at this point, come on, they are douchebags, a lot of them, at number 9. At number 8, this is really interesting, guys, but only interesting if you're on Twitter. So if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. But anyway, there's a group called Bipartisan News. They say they're a satire group or whatever. They also say they are bipartisan, which is horseshit. They are not bipartisan. They created a fake quote for Dana Loesch and posted it on Twitter. This was actually in response to the Walter Scott shooting. Basically, what they did was they created a tweet and attributed it to Dana that she never said. And what the tweet said was, hey, he did have a broken out taillight, so come on, it was okay. Basically, they made her look like she was siding with the cop who shot the man in the back. Now, Dana caught wind of this because they actually tagged her like idiots in it, and she asked them to take it down and apologize. And their way of apologizing was saying, we're sorry people are so stupid and didn't know it was satire. Well, in my mind, they really weren't trying to be satirical. They were being dicks because they knew people who follow them would go, oh, evil Dana Loesch, she meant that. Oh, she hates people. She's a racist and she likes guns. I mean, they had to know that these idiots wouldn't think it was a joke. They had to know it wasn't funny to be joking about in the first place, so it wasn't satire at all. And in fact, if you look at the original tweet, which you can't because the puss pulled it, but if you looked, there were people under there saying they actually heard her say it on her show. That tells you how stupid these people are. She never said any such thing, guys. But they swore they were listening. Oh, and she said it quietly, but she did say it. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with on the left. If they can't spin it, they'll make shit up. Period. How can you trust people like that, right? Turns out, now this may just be a rumor, but the guy who runs the account could be the son of the man who owns and runs and created Costco, which tells you that he is an elitist scumbag, douchebag, sitting around picking on people because he has nothing else better to do than be a spoiled brat. And he is a douchebag at number 8. At number 7, and I'm probably going to mispronounce her name, but it's Julie Ray Goldstein and a crop of morons in social media accusing the GoFundMe account for Memories Pizza of being fraudulent and or a PR stunt. I can tell you I donated $25 to the cause, so in that regard, I am as real as a bunny on the radio. But what is wrong with these people? Is it so hard to believe that you would be wrong or have an unpopular opinion on a topic? Do they really think that everyone thinks like them? And if not, it has to be fraud or it has to be a stunt. That's what freaks me out about these folks, is that they get so set in their minds on what people should do that they don't focus on what people are actually doing or thinking. You know, many people like myself, we support same-sex marriage and religious freedom at the same time because we are individuals and treat others as such. I'm sorry, and here, where am I? There is little to no groupthink in conservative libertarian circles. I'm reading this person. Maybe if people like Julie could figure this out, they wouldn't be such big douchebags like she is at number 7. Number 6, Sally Cohn. Again, oh, Sally. Oh, Sally. Sally today compared the horrendous death of Walter Scott to the hypothetical pizza Memories Pizza supposedly wouldn't cater at a gay wedding. She was babbling on about government intervention, which is per her usual made no sense whatsoever. I couldn't figure out what she was trying to say. She really seemed out of sorts even for her, which says a lot. Her tweets were nonsensical. I kept waiting for her to bring up Islamophobia because that's her favorite thing when she's not complaining about how people hate gays. But she was comparing the horrendous death of this innocent man to pizza that really was never ordered and basically could have ruined a small business's life, basically. So I don't know how she made that connection, but she is a douchebag at number 6. Number 5 is Planned Parenthood. You know, we know they're baby murdering douchebags, but in general, they had an epic meltdown, guys, when Rand Paul announced he would be running for president. It was epic. I'm not kidding. UC Rand is a doctor, and therefore he understands that life begins at conception. There is no magical unicorn dust that turns a non-existent, non-living fetus into a human baby. It is alive, and it is a human at conception. Planned Parenthood does not want people to understand that. So, they understand, though, that when a Republican becomes president, which is very likely at this point, that a lot of their funding is going to go away, if not all of their funding, as it should. Yes, I'm very pro-life, and I despise Planned Parenthood. So they had an epic meltdown on Twitter, talking about how Rand is against women's rights and how Rand doesn't care about women, and Rand is anti-woman because Rand believes life begins at conception. So we know they're douchebags, and we've always known they're douchebags, but you would think, in general, on Twitter, as an organization, they might act a little, I don't know, professionally. Call me crazy, but you don't normally see organizations have temper tantrums on Twitter like you did today with Planned Parenthood. So they are douchebags at number 5. Number 4 are Hillary supporters. Not Hillary Clinton herself, although the Clinton Foundation is trending on Twitter right now, and you have a bunch of leftists saying, well, if Republicans think it's bad, it must be good. That tells you how stupid they are. But no, it's her supporters. Her supporters don't want you calling her Hillary, because if you call her Hillary, that's sexist. Think about that for a minute. If you use Hillary's name, that's sexist. I'm Sam. So if you call me Sam, is that sexist? Oh, no, I guess not. But apparently, if you call her by her first name, you're referring to her as a woman, which is somehow sexist. I don't get it. I have lots of other names for Hillary, like Heifer and Cankles and Pantsuit Princess, Butcher of Benghazi. I have some names for her that are maybe a little meaner than that even. But Hillary is sexist. Her supporters are going to be real interesting, guys, in this primary. I really hope, actually, though, that they run her, because it'll be a blast to beat her and watch her lose again. On that note, her supporters are douchebags at number 4. At number 3, I added this one myself. I own it. I did this. The University of Wisconsin in Madison and Milwaukee are giving students extra credit for being bisexual. Yeah, I'm not making that shit up. I mean, you can find the story. It's online. Apparently, if you're bisexual, you get extra credit. I know, right? Where was this when I was in college, guys? Because, hell, that's the time you do that, right? That's when you're supposed to explore and maybe see what's going on. And, hey, if you get extra credit, why not? What, do pansexuals get double extra credit because they have sex with anything and everybody? There are some confusing things here, guys, because a bisexual and a pansexual are different things. There are so many different sexual things going on that I would get confused and have to probably have a tutor at this point in college, even though I would get extra credit for being bisexual. Unbelievable, University of Madison, Milwaukee. We know that you are liberal bastions. We get it. But come on. The loss to Duke was enough. Please don't do that to me on top of it. And at number 3, you are douchebags. At number 2 is John McCain. Now, please note, John McCain is a Republican, I think. And we here at Unapologetically Bunny are fair and balanced in our douchebag list and oftentimes have a Republican or two on the list. John McCain made the list at number 2 because John is going to run again in Arizona. When I first saw it, I thought he was running for president again, and I about moved to Canada. Or I almost had an aneurysm. I can't tell the difference. But here it was. John McCain's running again. What is this? Would be his, 9th, 10th, 25th term? I don't know. He's been there too long. He's been there since God was a boy, let's be honest. And it's time for him to go away, to retire and go fishing or something. He's at that age, right? But he wants to be the senator in Arizona again. Arizona, pay attention. Do you really want this guy to represent you again? Time for something different. And he's a douchebag at number 2. At number 1, I imagine you guys can guess who won. It is Obama, of course, but there were a couple things people wrote this week other than he just sucks. One is over the Iran deal, which we talked about a little bit already last week. You know, the whole, hey, have whatever you want, we get nothing, that deal. His comments on Easter Sunday when he called it a tale. He called our religion or Christianity a tale. And tale implies a story. It implies perhaps a nonsensical or not real story. Yeah, he's really a winner this week, guys, with Christians. Oh, and then this, Donna, this is for you. She wrote, causing my Wildcats to lose the NCAA championship, you fucking asshole. That is for Donna. Thank you for that, Donna. But he is a douchebag at number 1. You guys, a couple people, and I have gone back and forth about whether or not I should bring this up, and I'm going to really quick since we're already late anyway. A couple of people actually nominated Todd Kincannon for my douchebag list. And I was not sure whether or not I should address this on the show or just ignore it. But I will tell you this, I didn't add him to the list because Todd has been a friend for a long time. And if you haven't heard the news, he was arrested this week for domestic violence. There are lots of claims of other instances of domestic violence. His father has gone to the newspapers and said some story. I'm trying really hard not to be judge and jury at this point with Todd. I don't think that's our place. I think we're better than that. You know, for months we were telling Ferguson, look at the facts before you make a decision. Look at the facts before you make a decision. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And, you know, I realized Todd has pissed a lot of people off. Todd has said some things that offended even me, and you see what I write. So that tells you right there what he's been doing. But at the same time, I feel like until we know what's really happened, I'm not ready to put him on that douchebag list just yet. Now, if we find out there's facts and he is convicted and he did this, he will be number 1 on my douchebag list because Ashley is a friend as well. And she really is in my thoughts and prayers. And I would encourage you guys to do the same for both of them because clearly everything that happens is going to be on Twitter and in the media. And you know the trolls are having a great time with this unfortunate account. So I did not put him on the list. But I wanted to address it since a couple of you nominated him. And I also wanted to kind of talk about it because we did travel in the same circles. Todd is somebody who has stepped in and helped me with some of my nastier trolls. And if you've seen some of those really nasty trolls, you know how bad they can be. So on that note, he did not make the list, but I wanted to address it because I know it's kind of out there. And you know what? I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, Josh Smith has been waiting patiently because I screwed up getting on my show. We'll be right back to interview him. So stay put.
We here at Polititainment love to read. Well, except Poll, but, you know, anyway. Thing is, we're all super busy, and rarely is there a moment where we can just sit down for an hour and get caught up on the book we've been wanting to read. Many of us just don't have the time. But what we do have is a smartphone, a tablet, and a subscription to Audible.com. You see, Audible.com gives us the ability to get caught up on the books we want to read, but it's the audio version that in many instances is narrated by the author. So this way we can hear a chapter 2 on the way to work, while cutting the grass, or while in the bathroom. Hey, don't act like you don't do that too. And Audible is part of Amazon, so there are hundreds of thousands of books to choose from. If we just described you, a person who loves to read and just doesn't have the time, then we want to hook you up. Go to audibletrial.com/polititainment and you get a free month trial. And that includes one free book. Yes, even new releases for free. You get a 30-day free trial with no strings attached. And at the same time, you help out your friends at Polititainment. Go to audibletrial.com/polititainment. Get your books on the go by going to audibletrial.com/polititainment today. Thanks.
And I think we're back. You know, it's been one of those nights where technical issues are going to plague me, and eventually it will work itself out, but by then I'll screw up something myself. But, you know, Donna, I see you in the chat room, and as far as leaving Todd alone, I'm not trying to demonize him in any way, shape, or form, but I wanted to address it because a lot of people did nominate him, and I wanted to make sure I spoke about it since people know we're friends. But otherwise, I'm going to leave him alone and hope we find out what really happened, and we'll go from there. And we're back from break. Josh, are you still on the line?
Yes, of course. I've been enjoying the show in the meantime.
Thank you for being a good sport. Sorry for all the hiccups tonight.
Well, I'm not that important. I mean, how dare you keep me waiting? I'm not at that level yet. So. Oh,
but no, you need to act like you're at that level. So when you get to that level, you have practice. You should be like, damn it, Bunny, how dare you make me wait?
You'll never work in this town again. Or something like that.
Bunny, you're done on internet radio. Oh, it's been kind of night. I feel like that's how I'm doing. My friend, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fine. RIFRA, right? What's up with that? What's going on? There's,
RIFRA.
This is of course, the most important thing going on in the world apparently. I mean, it's not unimportant. There's a lot, there's a lot to be said about, protecting core American, freedoms that are in our Constitution. But, at the same time, what we ultimately, well, at least those of us who know what this is all about, what we know is that this law doesn't really get invoked all that much. It's not, it's a very important, it provides very important protections, but it's not often used. It's just not needed all that often. And so, I think overall, it's, a lot of hubbub about nothing, and, comparatively nothing. And it seems like it's, almost a distraction in that regard. And, of course, the gays have taken it over. It's all about the gays.
It is all about the gays. But, this is what happens whenever anything is taken over by, and I've been calling it the victim mafia. I stole that from Jake Pentland. He calls it the victim mafia. Anytime they get a hold of anything, it becomes very dramatic and way blown out of proportion, and that's what's happened.
The perma victims, right? Yes, exactly. It's the new segregation. Gay is the new black. Gay is not the new black. People that have said that are just. I mean, I use this hashtag called liberal analogy problems for stuff like this because it's beyond absurd. The idea that this that this stuff is like the lunch counters, like segregation, it's laughable, but for some reason, it seems to carry sway with people. And, of course, because it evokes certain imagery and whatnot. This is really getting annoying because this is going to be a left ploy for every single new identity group that they want special protections for, that they want, that they are going to try to sort of commandeer policy, public policy for. This is what they're going to do every single time. And until we just say, no, that's ridiculous, that's completely absurd. It is not like that. This is not segregation. Stop that silliness. Until we do that, they will continue to use it and it will continue to work. And indeed, in Indiana and Arkansas, they've managed to get GOP governors in heavily GOP-controlled states. In Indiana, there's a GOP supermajority in the Indiana legislature. They've managed to get them to buckle on stuff. And now, granted, the Indiana fix to the law it doesn't technically really do anything.
But here's the thing that bothers me about all of this is that in my mind, equality is not being special. Equality is just being like everybody else. They really have
fundamental
created
misunderstanding
policy.
that they fundamentally don't understand this sort of legal concept. They say, well, it's about equal rights, not special rights. No. See, the thing is,
that is special
here's why
rights.
it's about special rights. If I'm an employer, I can fire you for basically almost any reason. There are certain limited reasons I can't fire you. For example, I can't fire you because you're black. You're not black, but if you were, I can't fire you because you're black. That's, and so basically, but I can fire you for most other reasons, okay? I can't fire you if because you're a woman. But I can fire you for most other reasons. Even just I don't like you, or I don't like, I think that you're too tall. These are not
Sam,
ways
tall,
these are not ways in which you are protected under the law. So I can fire you for those reasons, and that's really ultimately it's a good thing for employers to be able to fire people for pretty much almost any reason that they want. We have a free market. Employment is generally at will, and that's a good thing. But all right, if the law is changed so that now I can only fire you for fewer reasons, for example, because we add a provision that says you can't fire someone because of their sexual orientation. If you add that into the law, okay, now I have fewer reasons in which I can fire you.
Right.
There's a smaller universe of reasons. That in those few reasons I can't fire you, those are special protections. Because if you take those away, then it's equal in the sense that now I can fire you for actually any reason. But they don't want to be equal, Josh.
They don't want to be equal. Equal would be being treated like everybody else. We all get treated like shit depending on who we're dealing with. It doesn't mean that we're being discriminated against. It just means that we run into people who may not like us for whatever reason they don't like us. And the thing that bugs me about being at work and being fired or not fired because you're gay is you have made your sexual life my business as your employer. I don't need to know those things. That drives me nuts. That is being special. That is not being equal.
I think that I lost my train of thought there for a second. But one of the ways in which this is sort of problematic, okay, is all right. We've done RIFRA. Everyone knows sort of the basics of RIFRA. They all know like RIFRA 101. Let's do RIFRA 102. Okay, let's talk about some of the trickier aspects of it. Okay.
Tricky.
And by the way, they got these GOP governors to sort of change the law a little bit. And Indiana really doesn't do much, but it does provide a framework for future attempts to steer the law in that special rights for LGBTQI, AM, and OP individuals. Okay, and that's where they're going with it. So they sort of let the government sort of lay this dormant foundation that can later be used by them if Indiana eventually seems to go, starts to go liberal. My position actually here is if this boycott Indiana thing shows us anything, okay, it really shows us that GLBT individuals don't need special protection. They managed in just a couple of days to get, they have Hollywood celebrities. They seem to have vast political and economic power to influence public policy. That's the point where you can actually say, okay, you don't need the special protection then. So insofar as they ever needed special protection, it's clear that they don't anymore.
No, and I think that it's an interesting point that you bring up, and it's also interesting in what you're seeing is they've been accusing, people who don't want to serve gay weddings or whatever, they've been accusing them of being bigots, when really they just don't want to take part in a ceremony. But who's acting like the bigots here is my question. When you see what's going on with the death threats, that Poor Memories Pizza, that crazy school teacher threatened to burn them down, I mean, that to me is bigotry.
Of course, people have to, this is, of course, the battle of the intolerance. It's you're intolerant. No, you're intolerant. The thing is, religion is something religion doesn't change because somebody feels like it should change. If you're a Catholic, for example, a Roman Catholic, you can't just sort of do whatever you want contrary to what the church says if you want to remain a Roman Catholic. You can't do whatever you want contrary to what the church says because you think it's time.
Right.
The church has to change their teaching. The church has to, change their position. Then you can sort of change. Until that point, you do what your religion says that you do because that's your faith. And, if you violate that, presumably you're going to hell or whatever. And so the thing is, what we have people saying is, you're a bigot because your religion is, says that that you can't bake a cake for a gay wedding. Well,
Right.
It doesn't really matter. Well, why don't you just do it? Because you can't ask someone to violate their faith. You can't ask someone to violate their religion.
No, of course
just
not. But the thing
appease
is,
you.
a lot of these people who are saying, "Oh, just go against your faith," or it's just religion, are religious
Like,
bigots
it's no big
anyway.
deal.
They
Like,
already have a
it's just
problem
a little
with
sin,
religion.
little white lie.
That's what they
I'm
want to
sorry.
do. They say they don't like religion anyway, so it's easy for them to say, "Well, your
Right.
beliefs are
They see it as
hateful."
they see it as very de minimis. Like it's just no big. It's just this one time. You have to bake a few gay wedding cakes. What's the big deal? They don't realize what a significant thing that is to someone who takes their faith very seriously.
No,
and so,
they don't, and they don't care.
when you compare that versus the sort of the minimal inconvenience of, well, maybe you could just find another person to bake the cake. And of course, there will be plenty of people, even in small towns, to bake a wedding cake.
I'm a Catholic.
is,
I'd bake
you
the
know,
cake. I'll be honest. I'd bake the cake. I'm a Catholic. It's not my problem. But I get why they don't want to, and they shouldn't have to.
Right. It's just not something you can insist someone do.
No.
Now, what people don't realize, people think that these laws, if you have these state RFRAs, that they're going to that these laws are going to somehow create the new segregation, that it's going to lead to the lunch counters again. The thing is,
God.
people don't understand. They don't understand how these laws actually work in practice. How the litigation process they're saying what they're concerned about is that they think people are going to fake this stuff. They're going to say, oh, my religion says I don't have to serve blacks, and that's going to work. Okay, what they don't realize is,
Sorry.
and that's fair for someone to maybe say that. But the thing is,
Why would they? They
In
think like
rea-
that. They do. You're not out.
Well-
They think like that.
right? But in reality, the litigation process naturally does an excellent job of weeding this fake stuff out. Okay, it exposes it relatively quickly. Let's say that you're the person who wants to say, I don't want to serve. My religion says I shouldn't serve black people. The thing is, when you go in, so what's going to happen is you're going to get a lawsuit filed against you, right?
Sure.
The government's going to bring it, or somebody's going to bring it, and the government's going to participate in it, or whatever. You get
Of
this.
course.
So you go into court or wherever, the Human Rights Commission or wherever, and they say, well, he won't serve me. He says it's because I'm black, and you admit to that, and then you say, but it's because of my religion. Well, the first question you ask is, what's your religion? And if they say, well, I'm a Roman Catholic. Well, I'm a Roman Catholic.
I'm a Catholic.
And the Roman Catholic Church, did they take that position? Well, no, but boom, you lose.
You lose.
Because you're obviously lying.
So why is this so
if-
easy? I mean, like you explain it, it makes sense. And I, of course, don't understand the legality, but I could look at the law and say, where are you seeing this I hate gays thing? Where are you saying that in the law that it's going to be Christians hating gays? And, well, we know they were implying it. Well, no, the law says, no, they meant it. You explain it perfectly.
That's how self-centered they are. They really think that the law is it's just about them. It was made just for the gays, just to discriminate against the gays. It's there to protect all religion. Religion runs a gamut of all kinds of beliefs. Some of them have to do with homosexuality. Most of them don't. So it's there to protect people who don't want to bake the gay wedding cake as much as it is the Indian tribe that wants to smoke peyote but can't,
Right.
generally, because state law says you can't do that. So
Right. Unless it's
it's there
Colorado.
for it's not there just for gay people. But again,
It's the
the
gay
gays
law.
today they're just all about it's a narcissistic self-centeredness. It's a very ugly thing.
No, Josh, wait, I have to interrupt you. I mentioned earlier, and I hope you don't mind, but I mentioned that you yourself are gay. And I think that is
I
what
am.
makes
I'm one of those.
You're one of those. Here's the thing with you.
Gay, proud, it's great. I love it.
You are their agenda's worst nightmare. You are someone saying, knock that shit off. You make us all look stupid. I think that is so awesome about you. And we talked a little bit about how important it is for conservatives to let, and you said it the best, you said, we need to let our GOP gays at their gays and be done with it.
Right. Well, the whole thing is what you end up with the way the media narrative goes is that the left marches with a bunch of gays, right?
Right.
In all kinds of, from all walks of life, if you will. And, and they're like, this is all anti-gay. This is just discriminating against gays. And they say it just like that too. And then the GOP brings in some pastors, to come in on the other side of it, of whatever show on CNN and be like, it's not about that. It's not. Nobody's going to believe that. People are going to look at that and say, well, everyone's obviously just acting in their self-interest because they hate gay people. And the GOP ends up looking stupid.
Yeah.
What the GOP needs to do is they need to neutralize that gay aspect of it. They need to the GOP needs to be like, okay, we're going to send in our gays to meet theirs and be like, it has nothing to do with being gay. This isn't a law about homosexuality. Nothing to do with that. You neutralize that, everyone's on an even playing field.
They're gays. You kill me. But you're right. We need people.
The GOP it's either that the GOP doesn't realize that they do have, their gays. They don't know that their side has them, okay? Or they do, and they, for some reason, just don't care. I don't know which is worse, okay? But the left will continue to win in this situation so long as the GOP does not neutralize that aspect of it.
Right.
Everyone thinks that gays, the left has a monopoly on gays, that they all belong to the left.
Right.
That's absolutely not true. But
No,
the
it's
GOP
not. But it's the
doesn't
same thing
show
as
that.
women.
They take no opportunity to show that.
It's absolutely the same thing as women. Of course, if you're gay, it's in your DNA to be a Democrat, just like when we're a woman, it's in our DNA to be a Democrat. And those of us who are not, we are the enemy. You, though, are a different type of enemy. You are the type of enemy that can really fuck things up for them. And I think that is the best type of enemy that we have. And for you to be so honest about how we need to send our gays in there, you're right. And it sounds horrible. It sounds like we're exploiting people like you, Josh. But at the same time,
fine. Well,
you're very powerful in that way.
I want to be exploited. I'm tired of us losing. Okay, and we're losing because the way we're losing is so embarrassing because they are total idiots on the left. They are. The only reason they win is because we're gay and fields and whatnot, and all of a sudden they win. That should not happen. Fine, exploit me all you want, so we can so we can combat that and actually win the public dialogue, if you will, the national conversation, because of the merits of our position. Once you neutralize that, it's all about discrimination and gays, and once you get rid of all that, the right always will end up winning because our positions are considered, our positions are thoughtful, they're logical, they're intellectual. The lefts are not.
No. Well, but a lot of what the left does is all about the emotional side of things, and it hurts their feelings that you don't accept them, and what they don't understand is you can't force people to accept you. You have to give them a reason to accept you. And threatening to burn down pizzerias and being assholes does not inspire people to like you.
But really, the most it's reasonable to expect out of somebody is as far as what they think is bare bones tolerance. And when I say that, I don't mean that they have to like you. What I mean is they're not physically harming you. Basically, that's what I mean.
Right.
That's all that is really reasonable in a free society to expect. Anything more is unreasonable. You can hope for it. You can hope for utopia. But you can't. It's unreasonable to expect it. Gays not only want other people to accept them, they want them to love them too, to make them a part of their lives. This is not good. That is not how a free society works.
No, it's not. And people get this notion in their highs that freedom is this nice thing, and freedom is not a nice thing. Freedom kicks your ass, and if you don't get on board, you're done. That's what's so great about freedom. We don't have to be friends.
There's a direct analog to to freedom of speech. We, of course, having freedom isn't free. People say, having freedom of speech means you have to tolerate, you have to, deal with the fact that some speech is going to be offensive to you, or you're not going to like it, or whatever. Okay, that doesn't. That concept of having to, sort of deal with the downsides of a free society, or the negatives, if you will. That applies just the same in the context of, free exercise of religion. There will be some times when people are going to have to, they're going to say, I can't bake your gay wedding cake. And people think that this is somehow like, that religious people would take pleasure in that. They'd be like, I can't bake your gay wedding cake. Ha, 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 ha. That's not, chances are they would, chances are they want the money. Who wants to turn away business? But the thing is, they just can't. It doesn't matter how much they want to. They're not allowed. The religion says no. And so, so there's people, they misunderstand that too. Again, they always think it's about them. They feel slighted. Well, people that are religious, they have, there's sort of a voluntary restraint on freedom. People think, well, the Amish, they get all kinds of exceptions to laws. Why shouldn't they be treated equally? Okay, really? Is that your position? Do you realize how, lame the life of an Amish person must be, other than, I'm sure it's very religiously fulfilling for them, whatever. But you realize they don't even have they can't use electricity.
No.
You know what? If they need exceptions to a few laws, all right, fine, no problem.
Wait,
there's
I have a question for you.
When the Lord closes the door, he opens the window, right? There are pros and cons to everything. Just seeing oh, I'm a religion, I get to, my religion says I get to discriminate. Well, that doesn't mean that your life is, super duper. All of a sudden, that's not
I have a question
that's not
for
a reason
you,
for people
Mr.
to sort of take on religion.
I have a question for you. Okay, so in Colorado, they have a law that specifically addresses the fact that people of religion cannot turn people away. There was a photographer who didn't want to take wedding photos, and the courts, they went after her because of the law in Colorado. The same law, though, did not apply to a gay baker who refused to bake a cake for somebody who wanted something on the cake that he found offensive. How does that work?
Well, on an intellectual level, there's no intellectual basis for it, really. It's utter hypocrisy. Legally, you could look at it like, oh, well, in that case, it wasn't discrimination based on one's religious views, in the sense that when they said, I don't want to, in that case, the baker is saying, I don't want to bake your cake because I don't like the message.
Right.
That is a little bit different than saying I don't want to bake your cake because I can't bake your cake because my religion says I can't. So it's almost like it's like we were talking in the employment context before, where you can fire somebody. You can't fire someone because they're black, but you can fire somebody because they're too tall, or you think they're too tall or something. That's sort of what we have here, where in the case of the person that's turning away the anti-gay message, that's the analog there is the too tall case. I'm not saying, of course, that that's a good thing. But
no,
that's
but it
where
makes sense now. I couldn't understand.
That's where these laws all lead, though. All of these laws lead to the point where now we're going to basically say that people can refuse a cake based on the message, and and certain messages are positive. There's literally people on Twitter that will be like, well, bigoted cakes shouldn't, people should be allowed to say no to those. Okay,
right.
So how are we to determine what cakes are bigoted or not? Are we going to have a special commission for that?
What is bigoted? Yeah, and it's all about what
it reduces to we have our government micromanaging bakery transactions.
But it's always something when it comes to the left, they find a way to dramatize it, to make it seem all about them. One of my biggest tweets was, "Dear gay people, this law is not about you. Everything is not about you." And it got retweeted like several hundred times, which was really funny because I felt the same way about what you said. It was like, not everything is about you guys. This law is not about you. It's about protecting people in business. It wasn't very popular, of course. You know how that goes. But, I did have one more question for you, and that's actually kind of a favor. We were talking, you talk about wanting to be exploited, and I'm going to ask if we can exploit you at Politainment. Would you be willing to be our go-to when we have questions on things that pop up as far as laws or things that are being passed? Because we don't have anybody on the Politainment group who really knows things the way you do, and we would love to exploit a gay lawyer. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Because we wouldn't be capitalists if we weren't trying to exploit you. But we talked about
I put out a tweet that where I was like, media, hey media, I'm willing to, I'm a gay lawyer, I want to defend Indiana's law, let me reach out to me if you're interested. And of course, mainstream media is, I wonder whether they even saw it, but if they did, they might have been like, well, let's just move on. wait, I'll pretend I didn't see that one. They want to, sort of pretend like people like me don't exist because they have to. In order, they know full well that what we were saying before, where if the right can show that we've got gays too, okay, and
we have our gays
it's not
too.
about the gay thing. If we can do that, we neutralize the left very quickly. It's very easy to do. You have to know how to do it, but it's very easy to do. They're frightened to death of that. They will do whatever it takes to not let that happen. We have to make it happen. The way we do that is we put pressure on people in our leadership to basically say, you need to step aside for these issues and let those, who can actually accomplish something, do the talking for us. Of course, the problem there is that there's a little bit of distrust between, GOP and gays, especially groups like the Log Cabin and whatnot, because of how they've been with regard to some of these issues, including this one, including the gay marriage thing. They're not exactly on the right page. And so there's some distrust there, and that the GOP doesn't really think that they can let those groups, sort of speak for the party. And I don't blame them, because what I've seen is really out of these groups is really that they're kind of, they call themselves conservatives, but on these gay issues, they have a very liberal blind spot, and they act just like the left. They're a little more subdued about it, but they act just like the left. So it might be that, someone who actually thinks about this stuff like I do, I might be, an extraordinary rarity. There might be very few of us. But the GOP still has a responsibility to find us and exploit us in order to, win the day, because that's really what matters the most here.
I'm happy to exploit you. Josh, where do people find you on social media?
All right, so let's see. I'm on Twitter at this is Josh Smith. You can also find me on my website, which is joshsmith.xyz. It's, is it a blog? Well, I try to say website because it makes it sound, more upscale, I think. But yes, it's a blog. And I also host Some Things Considered, which is a YouTube show every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Been a little bit of a hiatus for the past month. I've been trying to get the website up and running, which is stc.zone. It's actually not very easy to do that. I don't, I do the law thing, not the website thing by trade. So I'm, learning how to do that. But it's interesting. But it's also very time consuming. So stc.zone will be up very soon. And also, you can reach me on Twitter. On Twitter, I also do a salon parody account, salon.com.
That's you?
You might find that amusing.
I didn't know you were salon.com.
I am salon.com.
Holy shit.
I am the voice.
I love that
I am the
account.
ridiculous voice behind salon.com.
You turd. You didn't tell me. Okay, Josh, thank you for being on the show. I will be in touch to exploit you for further shows down the road. I'm sure the other host will as well. Thank you for making me laugh on a night where I blew it up on the show. I really needed it. You're great. I'm ready to send our gays to war.
Sounds good, Sam.
I will see you in social media. Take care, my friend. Whew, you guys, I needed to laugh, and he made me laugh. Thanks so much to you guys for hanging around. Jason DeWilkins, who is usually on 15 minutes ago, gave me an extra 15 minutes since I screwed up and was late. Stick around for According to Me, because he's a good guy. He's funny. He's worth listening to. And he made my show possible tonight by hanging out and giving me an extra time. He's a real team player, even if he's a racist. Also, if you get a chance, please go on our site at polititainment.net. Angie has been working very hard on shirts because we're capitalists and want to make money. So go buy some shirts from us out there. I appreciate you guys again staying put. Thank you for being here. I will be back next week, God willing, if I don't break something. I will talk to you then. Have a nice weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien